Welcome all at SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST EduPedia. I am Assistant Professor Vijayta Narang. Today our subject is Security in Computing for TYCS TYIT Semester 6. Topic is Authentication and Authorization. Authentication. Authentication means what? Mechanism to determine the user is valid or not. ऑथेंटिकेशन में क्या होता है, जब भी आप यूज़ करते हो कोई किसका अकाउंट या किसकी डेटाबेस या कोई किसका जीमेल अकाउंट, तो आपको यूज़र को वैलिडेट करना पड़ता है कि वो जो यूज़र है वो वैलिड यूज़र है कि यूज़र वैलिड नहीं है। तो क्यों करना पड़ता है? क्योंकि हमारी जो भी कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन है, टू प्रोटेक्ट दैट इंफॉर्मेशन वी रिक्वायर ऑथेंटिकेशन. For that, you must have some password, your username, your biometric, some OTP. Different authentication process are there. Different authentication methods are there. We will look upon that. But what is the authentication mechanism? To identify user is valid or not for accessing that data or accessing that account. Two kind of issue are handled in the application layer. The insufficient authentication mechanism could significantly affect the availability of the service. If the authorization is not done, if authentication is not valid, then the user cannot access that data who are access to that person. If you are the true person, if you know the password or OTP for that authentication, you can access that data. Now we will look what are the different types of authentication. First one is a two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is nothing but in that if you have to verify your user identity by 2 times in a different format. If you are logging with some example like ATM machine, if you are using a ATM machine, for that if you have some valid bank ATM card and valid PIN code, then you can use the ATM services. For that you have some bank system and the 4-digit PIN or a 6-digit PIN to access that card. Then you can use the ATM machine. You just have some example like if you are accessing your Google account, Instagram, in that also you can use two-factor authentication. But in that if you use the two authentication, you must register with your mobile number or your biometric, face recognition and different applications. You can authenticate yourself by the two-factor authentication. Next is multi-factor authentication. It is same like a two-factor authentication, but it's different, like if they are using a 3 factors, 4 factor, different factors they are using. If you are like aware about CoinDCX app, some application is there which is a trading for a Bitcoin application. In that if user want to log in, they should have a login details, and for that you must have a password and OTP on your mobile phone also and your email ID also. Then you can access that application for your requirements. Then you can access your data also in that application. So it must be a multi-factor authentication using a password and a OTP together. It is a multi-factor authentication. Next is one-time password. It is very common for each and every person. Short form we knows OTP. OTP is the one of the greatest automatically signed and authorized by the server side. In that, just if you are getting a OTP from some application or some website, that application directly read your message and can get your OTP from that devices. If you are logging in that same mobile, then you can use that OTP for your email, for your WhatsApp, for your Instagram, different accounts, for your paper registration. Some Google forms are there. In that if you are want to verify your mobile number, then in that it will require the OTP. OTP can be authorized by the person. Next is your biometric authentication. While some authentication system, biometric means in that your body parts are authorized. Your body parts are linked with your bank account like a fingerprint. Fingerprint, each and every person, each and every human being have a different fingerprint. Each and every individual have linked your different fingerprint on the Aadhaar card. If you want to access some bank account details or some application you want, in that some biometric is used. For that you have some your valid fingerprint or face recognition in our mobile phone. Nowadays we are having a smartphones, in that some biometrics are there, like a face recognize, voice recognize, and your fingerprint recognize. If your user is true, then you can access that mobile and you can use that mobile by the authorized person. If a authorized person you're using your fingerprint, it will not accept the data. It will say wrong fingerprint does not match, something message like that. This is a biometric authentication. Next is mobile authentication. Mobile authentication is nothing but verify user via the mobile phone. If you are using a Google Pay, Phone Pay, some application for e-payment, for that your SIM card should be there in your mobile phone. If the SIM card is not in their mobile phone, you cannot access the Google Pay, you cannot transfer money from one account to the another account. For a GPS system also, if you are using some GPS system for traveling from one place to another place, then GPS will get the notification for allowing you to locate your location. Then you can use the GPS system from the mobile phone. Next is what is authorization. Authentication is a different and authorization is a different. Authentication is nothing but user have some user valid number, valid username, OTP, mobile number, password to access the data. But authorization is a different security mechanism to determine access level. Like if you are in a college, some teacher wants to access your drive, then you are sharing that folder only to access that folder to the some person. They have that much limitation to use that system. They do not have that much limitation for using your all entire data. So authorization is nothing but giving a person identity or some services to use your devices, programs, data, computer program, email, whatever. If your person is true, you have to give authorization to that person to access your data. There are two types. One is a server side, next is a client side authorization. In server side authorization, there are three modes, which is one is none, second is self, third is grid map. In none, there is a no authentication is required. There is a no authorization, like your mobile phone. In that some lock system is there, zip pin code, 4-digit password, 6-digit password, biometric, face recognition, voice. But there is also option none. For that, user do not have to register their password or a pin. Self is like if you are using your own mobile phone, on the client will allow to use anything in your mobile phone if user is true, if you are using your phone. Then the grid map. In that, if some Excel sheet is there, it is shared with all the students. That grid map can be used by any person from anywhere, from any account, if they are accessing that grid map Excel sheet. Next is your client side authentication. In this also there are the three types: none, self and a host. None and self work as it in the server side and a client side both. None is a no authentication, no authorization will be performed on that machine or on that phone. But in the self, you must have an innovation if the service identity is the same as it is. If you are using some biometric function, if you are using some face recognition, then your face and your biometric should be matched to that mobile phone or a device. Next is a host. In a host, the client will authorize the invocation if the host identity containing the host name, your username, should be a match with the authorization. Then you can access that account and you can modify that account by the authorizing the person. If you are using that information, you can access that data and you can update that data also. So you have to must give that data or authorization password to the valid user. If the user do not want to delete your data, trust person should be there. Thank you.